Welcome to Delphine Circle in Harmoneum, where conscious conversations spark transformation. I'm your host, Delphine Channels. Let's jump in. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Delphine Circle in Harmoneum. Today's guest is my dear friend and Harmoneum coach, Thalia Halsten. Thalia is a wellness coach, medical intuitive, and longtime practitioner with a doctorate in Integrative Medicine and Chinese medicine. She's also the curator of the 3-day self-healing holistic reset, say that 3 times fast, where she helps people realign with their natural energy. Today, we get to hear her story and explore some of the simple self-healing practices that we can all use in everyday life. So Thalia, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Delphine, for having me. It is such an honor and a pleasure, and I look forward to sharing all about my history and stories and some of those simple techniques for self-healing.
Thalia, you just led the funnest live coaching call this past week. It was all about feng shui, which I am obsessed. I don't know why, but this was just like, and now you're going to do a 21-day challenge in the community, which I'm super excited about. So thank you so much for bringing that to us. I keep finding new things that you're great at. She's like, oh, feng shui. Oh, I know that. But you are now doing the 3-day self-healing holistic reset. So for someone who is not familiar with this, please describe what that is.
So it's really about taking that time out of your everyday life to just reset and reposition yourself and creating a space inside of your own home. It's really kind of hard to explain until you actually feel it or experience it. But imagine walking into a curated space where the lighting is soft, the sounds are flowing through the air, you've got essential oils going, and you've created this safe space for you to do some self-healing techniques, and it's right inside of your own home.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So this is not a place you have to go. This is something that you would do right there at your home.
Yes. And so many women don't take the time or it takes extra time to book flights, drive someplace, book the hotel. And so you can curate this space right inside of your own home and do a self-healing retreat over a weekend and then be ready and recharged to go back to work on Monday morning.
Awesome. So now is this like a program that they would follow along written, or do you interact with them during the reset, or what does the actual activation look like?
So it's a digital guide that they can download, okay, and everything is curated in there, from designing it themselves to videos that they can watch and download, and all different types of techniques and questions for self-inquiry, and themes, so they can create a theme. So it's really something they could do on a weekly or a monthly basis.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Now, is this something that you could do alone or with a group, or do you prefer that it just be individual?
No, you could totally do it with a group of girlfriends, or, if you had 2 sisters.
Is it specifically for women?
Men could do it as well, but it's kind of, the way that it's written is towards like the feminine and soft and flow.
Oh, okay. Because
for men, a lot of times their natural tendencies are towards the masculine and, kind of go, go, go. But it's also very good for them to get out of that everyday hustle culture.
Thalia, you have studied everything from Chinese medicine to Ayurvedic to blind masters of Japan, which I don't even really know what that is, but I want to know what it is. With all this study, what are some of the simplest, best techniques that you've learned through all of this for people that want to just de-stress? Simple techniques that people can do at home to de-stress.
Yes. So one of the easiest things to do is breathing. And I like to use a simple frame, turn on some Hertz frequency music, and just do an inhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4. And with each one of those, You're just going from corner to corner on the frame and gives you a little bit of a focal point. But I would love to share a little bit about the blind masters of Japan. So what happened is when socialism came and Maoism took over, they wanted to burn all of the Chinese medicine books. But in Japan, they decided that they were going to just let the blind learn Chinese medicine. So it became a whole technique. And because when somebody can't see, one of your 5 senses is eliminated. So it heightens your other senses. And they could feel the pulse. They could feel the disharmony within the body just by laying their hand on somebody's wrist. And it became a technique that was fostered over hundreds and thousands of years.
We hear so much about stress management because it is such an integral part of basically everybody's life right now. So how do we know when we've moved from kind of normal stress into an area where we know it's time to really pay attention? What are the signals maybe that the body would give us that it's gone from normal stress into danger zone?
So one of the ways to notice when you've gone from normal adaptive stress to a heightened sense of awareness and you're really in that fight or flight is when the heart rate is still going, you might be sweating, pupils can be dilated, and because the parasympathetic system is supposed to take over. And usually it will take over in about 90 seconds. But when you have repetitive stress, which we do in today's society from just everything that happens in the news, to traffic, to the foods that we eat with toxins in them, we are continually bombarded with stress that heightens the cortisol levels in the body.
So it's really just the shortness of breath or maybe the raised heart rate. I mean, now they have so many monitors for it, right? We've got the Aura rings, we've got lots of different types of, is there any specific technology that you like or have recommended to your clients?
I do really like the Aura ring because it's right there on your body. Mm-hmm. But I really feel that the best monitor is just your own self. Mm-hmm. However, a lot of times when we're in the moment of that high stress, the cortisol levels are, blazing and the nervous system is on overload, it's hard to notice that we're really getting into that spot. So I like a simple technique of tapping the thymus gland. Mm. You can just take some slow, deep breaths. It's located just underneath the collarbone at the center of the chest.
Where?
Right here.
Okay.
Just right here. And you just tap for 20 or 30 seconds and take some nice, slow, deep breaths. Close your eyes and bring yourself back to center.
Oh my gosh, okay.
One of the things that I've noticed is, I love emotional freedom technique, but there's about 8 or 9 different points, depending on the philosophy behind it. And when I'm in high stress, I can't remember them. It totally floats right out the window.
Yeah.
And so if I can't remember them, and I've been specifically trained in it, then the average person is probably not going to remember it either.
Yeah. But it goes back to your recommendation of breath, right? Because that's always accessible to us. That's always an easy go-to to just downrate our parasympathetic when we need that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Another thing that I know you've done quite a bit of work on is women's hormones. And I really think that this has become, we just did a book club where the girls, they're like, do you want to do a book club? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, okay, it's all about women's hormones. I'm like, rah. But actually it was very, very informative. And I'm actually happy that I read it because it was so much to know. There's a lot to know and so much misinformation out there. I wish I would not have been on the pill my whole life. I would never recommend that to anybody anymore. But tell us a little bit about how women know that their hormones are out of whack, or, what can we tell in our bodies?
Well, you might notice that you want to take a nap in the afternoon. You might notice that you're waking up in the middle of the night. You might also notice that you are having bloating or indigestion and your food's not properly assimilating. Your sleep is disrupted. You're really just not yourself. You're emotional and moody and maybe quick to anger.
I know it's so confusing, hormones, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. And is there kind of quick tips we can give about hormones, or do you recommend that we see a doctor specifically for hormone suggestions?
Absolutely. I always recommend just checking in with a professional, because when you go to Dr. Google, there is a lot of misinformation.
Yeah.
And, but also lab tests are not everything. And that's where I really like to kind of pull the two things, the scientific background, where I can look at the immune responses, the actual lab numbers, and the physical conditions. But then I bring in the intuitive aspect to it that can really look at the story and how it's showing up in somebody's life. And so when you combine those two things together, that's where true healing can really begin. But I don't recommend just blindly taking a bunch of supplements or hormones, because it is really real medicine. And I recently had a patient who had a thyroid nodule and was causing all kinds of symptoms. It was getting larger and larger, and it was actually the estrogen, the natural estrogen that she just decided to put herself on, that was causing it.
Yeah, that can be scary. Now, cortisol is a hormone, and you call it the bad business hormone, which I think is super cute. Talk to me about cortisol and why we need to be thoughtful about that, how that can kind of run amok.
Yeah. So cortisol really comes into play from history, when we were in tribal times and you had to run from an animal that was chasing you. So, but with everyday hustle culture, we're kind of stuck in this reptilian brain, and we are in this constant elevated state of cortisol. So it's something that regulating that regularly on your own and doing that self-healing is really important. It's really important to become your own self-advocate.
Absolutely. And is that something that is regularly tested, or how do you know if your cortisol is in the bad business zone?
Yes. You would get tested. And normally you're not going to do a blood test for that. It would be a 24-hour urine test or a saliva test, because you're going to get more accurate results. But the cortisol also has to do with the other hormones as well: progesterone, estrogen, testosterone. Because when your elevated cortisol levels are there, it's actually depleting some of those other hormones.
There's so many self-testing that's going on out there. And I actually just got one for Simpets, and it's a DNA test that does custom supplements. But for these types, I know most of the time we go to the doctor for it, but is there any home tests that you've been recommending, or that you like, or that you know of for people?
There are. Now, Dr. Mark Hyman does have a test of 400 different things, but you're also getting a lot of feedback with that, like from real medical professionals. So I think that is really one of the great ones. And you can actually, you're ordering it yourself, but it's also an excellent cost value.
Okay. And it's something you could take into your doctor too, and have it ready for your first appointment, right?
Yes. And I just really recommend talking to your doctor and finding somebody that's on the same page as you, because not every single medical professional is open to you doing the self-testing.
Yeah. And I know a lot of the people that are in Harmoneum, our community, are all about kind of the self-healing mode. But when you say, leader of your own self-healing, what exactly does that mean?
Well, it's really about taking radical responsibility for your own health and your own recovery of whatever it is that you have. And also, it's on a more spiritual level. It's the one who heals your own soul is really just you. And you've got to take responsibility and be the one that does the work, takes the time to have that inner exploration, and whether it's physical, mental, emotional, because most disease, when it does take on a physical form, really comes from something that is mental, emotional, and sometimes spiritual.
That could have been in there for a long time. That's now finally just getting to the symptom level.
Yeah, even lifetimes, even past lives.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because in my last interview with Natasha, we were talking about that idea of getting quiet with ourselves and what an important role that is when in dealing with self-healing. And it's kind of like exactly what you're saying. It's like it starts with us and really checking in with your body, really listening to what your body's telling you instead of always going outside for somebody to tell you what's going on inside of here.
Yeah, you're not broken.
Yeah.
And healing is available to you at any time, right inside of yourself.
I love that. That's beautiful. So I am obsessed with breath work right now, mostly because Zach Bush told me it was the best thing. He said that he thinks breath work is more power than any pharmaceutical and any plant medicine. And we just did a breath work session a couple days ago at the Harmoneum meetup, and there was just such powerful experiences that people were talking about that came out of it. And we all know how powerful breath work is, and yet so few of us actually do it on a regular basis. Now, I know this is something that you recommend to your patients. Tell us a little bit about your philosophy on bringing in those types of modalities.
Yeah, breath work is a beautiful thing, and it's amazing because it is available to us at all times. Now, there are so many different styles of breath work, and what I can say is they're all good. There are ones that are somatic that are going to be a little bit more slower and great for that self-healing because it gets you in touch with the muscle memory of your body and can just really explore some of those emotional aspects as well. But the style that I've created combines 2 short inhalations with 1 forced exhalation. And as you mentioned, Zach Bush, this particular style also combines neurolinguistic reprogramming and sound experience. It's a highly curated experience to specifically work on a problem or some area of deficiency that somebody would like to expand and explore. Also, this style of breath work, the scientific background is that it increases the DMT in the brain, which is the same chemical for plant medicine, ayahuasca. So you can experience that same type of journey just through breath work.
Yes, I love it. So the forced exhale, that brings to mind release, right? Anytime we do a forced exhale, that's releasing emotion out of the body.
Yeah.
So this is a very somatic way of releasing energy.
Yeah, so it can be. So when it's a forced exhale, you can actually get into either a flow state or a releasing state. Flow is going to be more of keeping that rhythm going evenly. And if you're in a release state, it's going to be that forcible exhale.
Yeah. Are there any other types of somatic modalities that you like to bring into your work?
I really love, like I said, I love tapping. I love movement. I believe that moving your body, even just yoga, can really open up the certain centers. I love sound therapy, and I know we'll probably talk about that later. But let's see. I don't know. I can't think of any somatic.
So I'm so interested because I know you've done work all over the world. I learned so much more even just in looking at your bio. But I know you've worked in Cambodia, digging wells and helping the women of South Africa. How has this global perspective, both your study of traditional Chinese medicine and your work in different parts and even third world countries, how has that guided your practice and how you work with your clients?
Well, it's really given me a different perspective to, first of all, appreciate what we have in our own culture, and the things that we take for granted that sometimes other cultures don't have. But one thing I've noticed is that when people feel seen, heard, and empowered, that's where self-healing begins. And they can really take on anything. And I've seen transformations of people go from living in an orphanage where it was a very abusive situation to becoming an advocate for the other people in that orphanage, going on to get an education, and just really rising.
With all of the work that you've done, I mean, all over the world, with all different types of people. I know you were with President Bill Clinton on some of his missions. I know you've worked with people in third world countries. I mean, that is a broad span. You've seen a lot. What has that exposure to all of that, how has that guided you in the way that you work with your clients and, how you approach your techniques and practices?
Well, one thing I've learned is that we're really all the same. So whether you are a woman in a small village in a third world country or you're a leader of the world, we all have stress. And I know that stress is such a broad term, but it's a name that people understand. And it's all about having the opportunity to take notice and look at the internal world and heal yourself. And really how it's helped me shape that is to just come from a place of love, no matter who I'm experiencing or helping.
Yeah. Did you find that maybe women who are really focusing on gathering water and food for their family, did they exhibit similar stress qualities that we see for people who are fighting traffic and deadlines and emails?
You know what's funny about that, Delphine, is that I found that those people were actually happier. They lived a simpler life, and so they weren't inundated with, the technology, the 9-to-5 grind, the pressures of keeping up with the Joneses. But that what they really wanted to do was they wanted to share, and they wanted to make their immediate family feel loved, and they wanted, even if they had no food, I was invited to share a meal with them. Beautiful.
Yeah, I had a similar experience when I went to Cuba. I got to go before it got opened up on a humanitarian visit, and I was prepared to see, atrocities and suppressed people living in, and that was not my experience at all. I saw, there was a lot of poverty for sure, but there was a vibrance about the people. And it also, I think, came from that understanding that life was very simple. When you don't have exposure to internet and all of those things, that your life becomes very simple. And I certainly walked away with that thought as well. So I can see what you're saying with that.
Well, and that's what the 3-day reset is, returning to simple, a simple life, and taking that time, because even if it's for a moment, return to that simplicity.
Yes, I love that. Well, in your work, you are a medical intuitive, and that word is becoming more common nowadays. I think I only heard it for the first time a couple of years ago, and that sounded really woo-woo. But as we move more towards an understanding that the body is speaking to us, and it's about who's listening, right? And yet I know you also have a very scientific background.
Yes.
So how do you marry those two ideas together, both the intuitive with the science?
Yeah, that's a great question, Delphine. And I really like to go back to the roots of science being the foundation and the medical intuition being the story. And when you merge those two, beautiful things happen.
Yeah. Well, how do you bring that into the work that you do?
So it's funny too. I've been a medical intuitive since I was a little girl. I would go up to people and tell them, you have this condition. And my mom would be like, you don't know that.
Quiet, honey, sit down.
Yeah, but then it would come true. Wow. And so, however, as a little person, you're told you can't know that or you don't do that. You kind of put it away for a while. And then when I was a teenager and into my early 20s, it started coming back. And I just decided to let it flow. And so I see things and I can, I wish I could see it for myself though.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. But when you're connected to yourself, it's a lot harder to notice those things. And it's something that you have to practice daily and learn or relearn.
Yes. Are there things that you think people can do to kind of heighten that awareness within themselves?
Absolutely. The breath work is one of the number one things.
And why is that, do you think?
Because it does bring you into that altered state of consciousness where the mind wanders and it breaks the critical factor in the brain. It actually creates little openings that can access a part of the brain where the unknown can become known.
Yes. Yeah, it's that cognitive rewiring that we all try to achieve. Beautiful. One of the things that I also learned about you recently, which I just chuckle because we talk about this every time. I'm like, oh, there's another thing that I learned about you. You have so many talents and skills. Is that you play the Celtic harp?
Yes.
Celtic, not Celtic. Celtic harp. Yeah. Celtic harp. Is that a stand-up harp or is that like a lap harp?
Yeah, they can be stand-up or lap harp.
Okay.
I've had both. I've probably had about 7 or 8 different harps, and they kind of all have their own personality. But I actually didn't play an instrument growing up. It's something that I was just always really fascinated with, and I knew that it made me feel so calm and relaxed, and I just knew that I had to learn it.
Yes.
And I had moved to Seattle, Washington, and I was taking the ferry across to Bainbridge Island, and there was a husband and wife, and they made Celtic folk harps. And they played on there every day during high traffic time, like in the morning going to work and in the evening coming home from work. And so I ended up talking to them. I ended up buying my first harp and teaching myself how to play.
Wow.
And then later on, I actually used that in my acupuncture practice. I would put the needles in, and then I would play the harp. And the people, I started noticing they were having really profound healing experices.
Wow.
And this was way before the crystal sound bowls and the sound baths had become popular. But one of the things I first did, so after I learned how to do it, I would dress up like a fairy and I would go into the cancer ward in the children's cancer ward. And it just gave them time to explore imagination and hope.
I love that.
And they just loved it. And they thought I was a real fairy.
Another thing.
Yes. But it was so great because on the lap harp, it was just their size, and you could put it the little bass right at the heart, and you just strum it, and it goes right into your heart.
How beautiful.
It literally speaks to our soul.
Mm-hmm. You know, I heard recently, and it left a profound imprint on my mind about how creativity is our connection to our soul. Yes. And that when we are moved creatively to do something, that we should always follow that intuition, because that's how our soul's way of connecting with ourselves. And so the fact that you were on a bus and going, that harp, that's what I need to do. I mean, I love that. And to your point, it can come anytime in life. Just because we didn't know how to play an instrument as a kid, I've decided I'm going to learn how to speak Portuguese, which, you know, never thought that would be one of the focal points of my life, but I'm really excited about it. It's fun to learn new things, right? And it's important to learn new things.
I love learning, and I will never stop learning.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things about sound healing too that I've experienced is they are actually doing scientific studies now, and it's shrinking tumors.
Interesting.
Using Hertz frequencies.
Right.
And Sloan Kettering, Mayo Clinic, Harvard, they're all using it as a diagnostic tool and healing method. Well,
Rife was been, you know, Royce Rife, Royal Rife, in the 50s was using them, and that quickly got shut down. The AMA did not want that around. But we understand now that frequency has a profound healing effect, and any way you can incorporate that. I actually listen to solfeggio frequencies usually just throughout my day, all day long, because it just has such a peaceful feel to it. So yeah, I love that more people are getting into sound as a form of healing.
Yeah. And in Chinese medicine, each of the organs is associated with a sound. And so, for instance, liver is associated with the key of E. And it can literally transform anger and frustration into kindness, love, and flow.
I love that. And how do they typically work that into their practice?
Well, it's usually through sound coming from the mouth.
Oh.
So it might be an ah sound or a gong sound. Sometimes they do use bells. But I've also used tuning forks, because in the modern day, there's so many other ways that we can kind of bring sound into our therapies.
Yes, yes. I love the tuning forks. That's something I've been working with recently too, and I've just been finding so much happiness around that.
Oh my gosh. Then I need to do a treatment on you with the acupuncture needles and the tuning forks, because it literally sends it right into your cells.
Oh my gosh. Yes, please sign me up immediately. Awesome. So for people who are watching this and they're saying, okay, I want to do self-healing. I mean, what actually could I achieve on my own? I mean, what are some things that people could expect to be able to help themselves with through the self-healing method?
Yeah. Well, obviously, one of the easiest ways would be to get into the Harmoneum community.
Yes.
Because especially this month, we're doing the practices. Mm-hmm. And there's the live activations every day.
Yes.
And it's so important just to take, whether it's 60 seconds, 5 minutes, whatever you have time for, mm-hmm. and really readjust by taking those breaths, by turning on some solfeggio tones, mm-hmm. and resetting that inner compass.
Yes. And that whole concept about when you listen to what your body is telling you, it will guide you, right? That whole idea of being guided. I have gotten to a stage in my life now where I feel like I'm getting direction every day. Like I just go by my guidance. And it's such a beautiful place to be. And I always sometimes for people who are not familiar with that, that sounds crazy, but obviously in Harmonium, this is what we talk about all the time. We love this kind of stuff, but just getting in tune with what our body is telling us, and it will tell us what it needs, and we can start seeing those experiences happen.
And whether it's a book that falls off the shelf, or it's a conversation that you hear in the store, or a sign that you see as you're driving by on a billboard. The messages are there and they're clear. It's just about noticing.
Yes. We've been talking a lot about the whole concept of life in 5D. This is something that's become very important to me and a real focal point of my my learning and of my teaching. What does that mean to you, living a life in a higher consciousness, and how does that affect our body's ability to heal?
Absolutely. And living in 5D and that higher consciousness, I think one of the first places to start is with self-love. Because if you're in a state of being called love, you're not going to be deflating into those lower energies.
That's so true. I heard that the two things, if we just focused on two things in our life, it would be self-love and non-judgment. That those are the two things that hold us into lower frequencies and prevent us from being able to elevate and ascend into higher frequencies. So I totally agree with you. Self-love is so important. And I don't know what your thought is about it. I have always said that asking yourself at each point of a decision, what decision is most loving to me, that is the way to constantly be in check to see if you are in self-love. Do you have any things that you do to remind yourself to be self-loving?
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there.
Yeah.
That self-talk and asking yourself questions. And sometimes it's good to have like 5 or 6 questions already written out so that you can always just go back to them.
Yes.
Is this for the highest good of all? What does my soul want? Is this coming from a place of love? Is this coming from a place of self-love? And really just talking to yourself. Are you judging? Am I judging? Am I being judgmental? Am I being any particular emotion?
Yeah. And then not being hard on yourself if you are.
Right.
Because we're all human and there is no such thing as perfection, right? And we're all going to do it, but it's the act of remembering and bringing ourselves back to center, not that we have to be perfect, because that's another game that we like to play with ourselves.
Exactly. And you already have what it takes to live in those higher frequencies, to heal your own soul. It's just about remembering who you are.
Yes.
And it seems to be a theme inside of the Harmonium community. And sometimes we just need a little help and someone to tap us on the shoulder and say, I see you.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I in a conversation yesterday about meditation, and people like to put up all these reasons why meditation is undoable, right? I can't meditate. I've tried. It's hard. And I said, really, if you think about meditation in a way that is just dropping into a space where you allow yourself to be filled with love and light of the Creator, it's just that simple. Just allow yourself to sit in the light of the Creator. And I think little techniques that we can do to help ourselves are at the beginning to self-healing, right? It opens that doorway. Little things that we can do. Just so beautiful.
And I think the reason that most people can't meditate is because it's so hard to let go of any thought in your brain. And one of the easiest ways to meditate is to focus on a one word or a sound or a sentence. And I really like, I am light, I am love. I am light, I am love. And you just repeat it over and over again until you notice that you're not saying it anymore. Because you just are the light and you are the love. And in that fraction of a second, that's where the meditation is. And when you notice yourself not saying it anymore, and all the, oh, I got to get this at the grocery store, or, oh my God, what about that? You just start saying, I am light, I am love. And it retrains the brain, kind of like creating a little crevice to reroute those neurons in the brain.
I love that. Yes, so good. Okay, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, because I know that you also have a beautiful business in travel as well. And I know you do customized retreats for people, and you do these beautiful programs. Give us a little tidbit about what also people might be able to expect if they were to work with you.
Yes, thank you. I love to do personalized retreats where it's curated exactly to what you want or need. And it can be done in a single person environment, or you could bring 4 to 6 people. We love to do them right here in the desert, because there's a real magic in the desert, and the succulence and the crisp air and the starry nights where you can see everything out there, and it's just so expansive. And so they're highly curated, and it's really something that's hard to explain until you experience it.
Well, what I love about that is oftentimes people, when I would actually do retreats, I would send them very little information about what was in the retreat, because our brains already start taking over and you start wanting to run the retreat yourself. You can't help it. But also, people are so worried about what they don't want to do. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Oh, breath work. Oh, I don't like breath. Oh, meditation. Oh, please. No, not meditation. I can't meditate. People are always looking for reasons to why they can't do it. And I love that you do customized retreats, because they can actually be part of the crafting and the curating of the experience and be involved with it. So it takes the fear aspect out of it.
Absolutely. And we also have a Moroccan soul journey retreat, which is 6 days and 5 nights in Marrakesh. And what's fun about that is that part of it is curated, but then you have the other half of the day to explore the Medina, go shopping, eat the delicious foods, and because it's not always all about being healthy and perfect and doing the right thing. It's also good to just let yourself indulge.
Absolutely. I love it. That is important too. I could just talk to you all day, Thalia. Well, we do, kind of, all the time. But if people are not a member of Harmoneum and they want to find you, what would be the best way?
Well, of course, the easiest way to find me is right inside of the Harmoneum community.
Yes.
And I would love to connect there. But you can also find me on Instagram at Thalia Halsten, and send me a message anytime. And then also I have a website, thaliahalsten.com, and you can find the digital guide for the self-healing retreat or any of the other experiences.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I'm so appreciative of you being here today and sharing all of your wisdom. Not all of it, because there's a lot more that we didn't share, but that'll be for podcast number 2.
Exactly. Thank you, Delphine. And it was so wonderful to spend this time with you. I just loved every second of it.
We're so grateful you joined us for this episode of Delphine's Circle. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share. And for even more connection, sign up for a free community membership at harmoneum.com. See you there.